Hello again. Just want to say something quickly about senior leadership teams because I'd spent a lot of time working with executive and senior leadership teams, and we've got a kind of process or a program for doing that. And there are some senior leadership teams whose influence in the organization is very small or insignificant because they're not very effective. And there are others whose influence on the organization is quite high, but it's negative. And I see that, for instance, when I work with middle leaders, which I do quite a lot also, and I enjoy doing. And what we find is that one of the challenges that middle leaders have is they're not led very well by senior leaders. We're not going to talk about that particular issue today, but what I want to do is share with you some questions that we ask in the initial stages of our senior leadership development program. So the first thing we do is we talk to the boss about, what do they want from the senior leadership team, what works, what doesn't work, that kind of thing, obvious stuff. And then we meet either face-to-face or remotely with each individual member of the senior leadership team, and we have a few questions that we ask them. So I'll give you a little bit of an insight into those questions. One of them is we ask them what their primary role is. What do you see as your primary role? And the majority of them actually say, oh, I run the engineering department, or I run the HR department, or I run this department. And they see that as their primary role. And that's an interesting idea because we would argue quite strongly that their primary role is to be an organizational leader. And so to work with their colleagues to run the organization as a whole. So when you see some of the feedback we get from this process, people often say, I've completely changed my perception of my role. So I see my role in terms of running this department as part of the whole organization, and I review everything in terms of the whole organization. And I'm sure if you have any experience of senior leadership teams, you will see the opposite of that in quite a few. The other thing we ask is, what do you like at kind of implementing whole organizational initiatives? So for instance, let's look at health and safety across the organization, or let's look at managing costs across the organization. Do you work together collaboratively as a team and all take individual responsibility for your contribution to that? Or do you see these things as an opportunity for you to defend your part of the organization, or say, yeah, but they can do it, we're not doing it, we're special, those kind of things. So that's a bit of an insight into how effectively the team work together on organizational wide issues and challenges. Now, I know this sounds like a petty thing, but it's not. I also ask them how meetings are. What are you seeing leadership team meetings like? And you get some really good insights. Now, I haven't got time to go into this, but you get some really good insights into how effectively the team works by the way that the meetings run. Okay. Now, and another thing is I often ask people is, how do people react to being held accountable and being challenged by their colleagues in the senior leadership team? And we do quite a lot of work on that. We talk a lot about conflict and constructive conflict and corrosive conflict and what that actually involves. But it's an interesting insight into how well a team functions, is how they handle challenge and accountability. And kind of linked to that, and this is something that frustrates me, a lot of organizations will say, oh yeah, we had this people or this organization come in and they did a whole load of work around this, and one of the values we've come up with is trust. So we've created this document and we've written the word trust on it and we've stuck it up everywhere, so now everybody trusts everybody. And that is just ludicrous. Trust is a complex thing. It's also a two-way thing. There's an awful lot of elements involved in it. So we spend quite a lot of time unpicking trust and what it involves and what it requires and what it needs from the people who are being trusted and the people who are trusting, and how that works. That's quite an interesting area to work on with many leadership teams. And I guess one of the things I've kind of alluded to in what I've said so far is we talk about the dynamics of the meeting. Are there people who dominate? Are there people who don't contribute? Are there people who are oversensitive and react aggressively or are aggressive? Those kind of things, and dig into the dynamics of the team. And the other question that I ask is, I kind of walk people into it really. Maybe I shouldn't be announcing this. I'll say, can you tell me what the big things you're trying to achieve this year are? And quite often they can. And what are the main challenges you've got over the next 12 months? And quite often they can. And then I say, if I went to to your colleagues on the leadership team and asked them the same question about your part of the organization, would they know? quite often they'll say no, they wouldn't. And I think one of the key things about being a senior leader in an organization is that you have that picture of the whole organization. So you know what the challenges and goals of the various parts of the organization are. It helps actually to it helps your brand as a leader if you understand the whole organization. But also, how on earth are you going to work together collaboratively for the benefit of the organization as a whole if you don't know what each other's goals and challenges are? Anyway, that's it. There's an awful lot more to it, as you can guess. But if you're interested in our senior leadership development program, then just get in touch. We've got a lot of flexibility in it. We can do a lot of it remotely. Some of it involves online stuff. So, and interested to hear your comments.